Hail to the legal warriors. In this video, I'm going to cover an answer to a question from a viewer. The question was something along the lines of, I want a video made about what to do if I'm pulled over for a DUI and I've not had one single drop of alcohol. What I'm going to do is let you know what I would do in that situation. And thank you to viewer at Jack Rainfield for that, because I'm going to make this video for all of us, so stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Lynnwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like it, please subscribe. More people will see it. More people will get the help they need. Now, we have to remember, this video is not for legal advice. This, when we put stuff out, when as lawyers put stuff out, it's informational, it's entertainment, but we don't give legal advice because we're not supposed to do that. But this is still a valid question, so it's an educational question. If I were pulled over, it's 2 a.m., it's shooting fish in a barrel time for the police. Everyone driving at 2 a.m. must be drunk, right? Everyone who has some type of infraction or does something wrong must be drunk. What would I do in that situation? Because I was a prosecutor for 7 years, I've been a defense attorney for, 25 or so. What would I do to try to make sure that I didn't end up being convicted of something that I didn't do? Well, first of all, let's talk about the DUI statute. How can you be convicted of DUI? Could you be convicted of DUI if you didn't have one single drop of alcohol? And for this video, we're also saying no marijuana, no prescribed drugs. There's just nothing. All we had during the day was just regular stuff, water and hamburgers, whatever. So yes, you could still be convicted of DUI. It wouldn't be a fair conviction, but you could be. There's two ways in Washington State to be convicted of DUI. The DUI statute, RCW 46.61.502, says that you are guilty of DUI if you have a breath test of .08 or higher within 2 hours of driving for alcohol. It's also 5 nanograms for marijuana through a blood draw. But in this case, hey, Lance, I can't be convicted of that. I have no alcohol in my system, so I'm not going to have a breath test of that amount. And assuming we don't have a malfunctioning breath test machine, that's the case. But there's a second prong. And the second prong is that you can also be convicted if your ability to drive a motor vehicle is affected in any appreciable degree by alcohol or drugs consumed before or during driving. Well, how could I be convicted, Lance? In this hypothetical, Lance hasn't had any alcohol. Well, here is the problem. So you get pulled over for DUI. The officer shows up. They already have a preconceived notion when you pull over, especially if it's DUI time. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. They're out there looking for DUI. Where I worked as a prosecutor, I remember an article written about one of my police officers that literally said in the article that he could smell DUIs in the air. It's literally what he said. That was the attitude of that DUI enforcement officer. So when they come up to the vehicle, they already think you're DUI, and maybe they smell some cologne, or maybe they smell alcohol of a passenger you have or someone that's been there, and maybe they just smell DUI in the air, just like this officer did. And we can't challenge what he smelled, right? Later in court, he says he smelled it. So if I got pulled over in that situation, the officer's going to ask me, have I had anything to drink? I would say no. So the first thing I would do is I would deny drinking alcohol. Now, some people would say, hey, we just look straight ahead. We don't answer anything. We're going to be, a soft citizen type, and we're just going to not do anything. I personally wouldn't do that because I'm not going to aggravate the officer. It's not going to hurt me to tell the officer that I didn't have anything to drink. So that's not the way I would approach it. Now the officer's going to say, well, here's why I pulled you over, or do you know why I pulled you over? I would say, no, I don't know why you pulled me over if I didn't really know. Even if I had an idea, unless it was obvious, I'd probably say, I'm not sure, please let me know, officer, right? Now, if I ran into the back of a dump truck, I'd say, well, because I hit the back of a dump truck, but hopefully that's not what we're talking about. But if there was an accident and it was that hour, they're really going to think I'm DUI, right? That's what caused the accident, not just people have accidents. So now here is the key thing that I would do. They're going to ask me, would I like to perform some voluntary field sobriety tests to see if I'm okay to drive? And my answer is going to be no. Now the officer's going to say, well, you understand, if you don't do field sobriety tests, I'm going to be forced to make a decision with the information I have right now. So they're trying to intimidate me at that point that it's in my best interest to take the field test. Now, Lance, why wouldn't you take the field test? And hopefully you're a viewer of this channel, but if you're not and you're new to this channel, you haven't seen any of our videos on field sobriety tests, standardized field sobriety tests are a joke, right? They are subjective. They are subjectively scored. They're supposed to be objectively instructed, and they're hardly ever done right. And there's just no way for someone sober or not to pass a field sobriety test when the officer believes that you're DUI. Now, an officer still might do standardized field sobriety tests and let you go. It's possible that unicorn exists in the world where that's happened, and I'm sure I'll see a bunch in the comments. There's a bunch of unicorns. But a lot of those times when people are let go, it may have little to do with the field sobriety test, and it may have to do with how much time the officer had left, what they wanted to deal with, what their, it's a lot of personal issues about how officers interpret tests. But the standardized field sobriety tests are subjective. Imagine the walk and turn test. The walk and turn test instructions will basically put the driver with one foot in front of the other, stay touching heel to toe. Don't start from this position until I tell you to. Do you understand? And of course, I'm on the side of the road. I'm cold. It's probably raining because I'm in the Seattle area, right? And I just want to obey, right? I'm not a defense attorney here. I'm just Lance. And of course, officer, I understand. I don't really even know what he's talking about. Well, the officer's looking to see at that point, if I break from this weird starting position, one foot in front of the other, he's going to score a point against me. Does he tell me that? No. And then if I start listening to his instructions and I sort of like a normal person would take a step to see if I'm going to do it right, well, that's starting too soon. That's another point. So now he's going to go to the rest of his tests. When I tell you to, I want you to take 9 heel-to-toe steps down the line, turn in a prescribed manner, and return taking 9 heel-to-toe steps. Guess what? 90% of the time, there's not even a line. He wants me to walk the imaginary line. And if I step off the imaginary line, don't know how you do that because there is no line, that's a point against me. And 2 points is a fail out of the 8 points that he's looking for. They don't call them points. They're called clues, but we'll call them points for this video. So now the officer takes typically 3 steps, and then on their 3rd step, they say, this is my 3rd step. Their left foot's forward. I want you to imagine this is your 9th step on the imaginary line, and keep that 9th step planted and turn with the other foot, taking a series of small steps. And we don't have a full body shot here, but they let you turn around like this they're supposed to do. Now return taking 9 heel-to-toe steps. And then the officer will sometimes take 3 more steps and says, I stopped at 3, you keep going to 9. Now you just heard all this stuff, right? And he's probably talking less clearly than my talking fast here. And why am I talking fast? Because this stuff upsets me, right? That this is evidence that is so heavily relied upon in our state. Now, the reality is if someone's been drinking, the cop knows it, and this is just sort of window dressing to justify the arrest under case law that exists all throughout the United States, because we can tell when someone's drunk. But in this case, we haven't had anything to drink. I haven't had a drop. And he's going to use these BS tests to justify his arrest, and then he's going to be treated like some type of deity, right? That these things are gold. Well, we haven't even finished the instructions. Now he's going to say, as you walk, I want you to count each step out loud. I want you to look at your feet as you walk. I want you to keep your arms at your sides. And once you've started walking, I don't want you to stop walking until you've completed the test. Do you understand? Everyone just says they understand, and if you say you don't understand, then they're going to write down, well, he didn't understand instructions. Lance must be drunk. Okay? Did I even hear the instructions? Cars are zipping by. Another police officer there. It's raining, it's blowing wind. I've got terrible tinnitus in my ears from some bad decisions in high school. So I'd have a hard time hearing him to begin with. So if I do those field tests, there's no way I'm passing. And since I'm not passing the field test, that means under the studies done 40 years ago, there's a certain percent chance that I'm drunk. And this totally sober driver, because I was wanting to comply, I was thinking I was doing the right thing and doing these field tests for the police officer in Washington State, that's going to likely get me arrested. Now, other states, there might be there's different case law. There's no penalties against me in Washington State if I don't do the field tests. Nothing happens to me. I can't speak for other states, but I'm driving in this hypothetical in Washington State. If I did the field test, he's also going to check my eyes. Another test that doesn't work for me, I have something called strabismus. My eyes don't work together. I would tell him that my eyes don't work right. He would say, we're going to take that under account, right? Still getting arrested. And then finally, he's going to have me stand on one leg. I could go through those. You can go to my video if you want to watch that. So if I do those field tests, there's a good chance I'm not going to pass because it's subjective. It was instructed wrong. It's on a slope. It's dark. There's no line. And therefore, I'm probably getting arrested. So I refused the field test. We said, well, sir, are you willing to do a portable breath test? Well, in this case, I am willing to do one because I've had nothing to drink. Man, I say, give it to me now. In reality, I might say, let's just skip the field test. Give me the portable breath test. So he's going to give me that portable breath test, and it's going to show a 0. I have the officer's actual PBT they use. They're not so easy to get. And it shows a 0 if you're 0. I've never have it shown something besides a 0 when we expected a 0. So that would typically dispel the officer's fears, and it might get me let go. Now, there was a very viral video of someone, a student, who sort of made the mistake of doing the field tests. And the officer, of course, said, oh, God, you're so drunk on these field tests. It's terrible. Then the kid took the PBT, and it was 0. Did the officers let him go? Oh, well, your PBT is inconsistent with the field test. And also, it sounds like you're slurring your speech. He doesn't know how the kid talks. So you arrest the kid and arrests him for DUI, gets a blood draw, claims he's on marijuana. Eventually it comes back nothing. And finally the case gets dismissed. They get sued. Just think what this kid's been through. If he never did the field test, he's probably not getting arrested in that situation. So you take the PBT. I take the PBT at 0. There's probably not much else he's going to do there. If he arrests me, nowadays he's probably going to go do a blood draw. The blood draw is going to come back, and it's going to show 0, and then they're pretty much done. Okay, and in most cases, if they do a blood draw in this state and they don't have anything else, they're going to wait for the blood draw to come back before they fully prosecute the case. Each city or county is different, but that's typically what we see. In this state, a blood draw is going to take 11 to 12 months to come back from the state toxicologist as of at least 2025 when I'm filming this. So what did I do? Well, I said I wasn't drinking. I didn't do the field tests. I did do the portable breath test that showed 0, and now the officer made a decision. He arrested me or not. If he arrests me and he takes me to the station, he's probably going to do a search warrant for blood because he's not going to ask me to do the breath test again. He's already got a 0. If he does a search warrant for blood, I let him do it. They take my blood. The pieces fall where they may. Hopefully in that situation, the officer realizes that he or she has it wrong, and they let me go. But what we don't want to do is if I haven't been drinking, I don't want to give them false evidence by doing a bunch of field sobriety tests because they just aren't going to help me. I would just never do them. And I might actually literally objectively be able to pass them, but subjectively that's not what the officer's going to see. So, well, viewer out there, thank you so much. I'm always looking for new videos to film, and this has been one that's got me revved up. And hopefully no one is ever in that situation. Hopefully this is just a thought experiment. I've said it's happened before. There's a viral video out there on that, not in Washington State, another one. And let's not ever let it happen to us. So please like it, please subscribe. If you like this, more people will see it, more people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you're in Washington State, you got a criminal matter, feel free to reach out to our firm. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.